is a garage. At its core, a garage serves two functions. It's a place to store your cars, and it's a place to store the belongings that your spouse no longer lets you keep in the house. But in the end, a garage is really nothing. But something can come from nothing. Something like Disney, or Apple, or Google. These are all examples of companies that everyone in this audience likely knows that started in a garage. Something can come from nothing. Where people see that garages are just nothing in life, many people also see small towns as just nothing. They're just a pit stop along the way, or they're a place for you to drive through and get gas on your way to the family vacation. Now, if we take a look at this map, we can see a population gap that exists between the eastern and western portions of the state. We can see the dark areas where the population is concentrated, and then this vast open area, what I consider an open area for opportunity. Why does this gap exist? A lack of resources, a lack of creative people? Some people just tell me it's a Nebraska problem and that we just need to get over it. But if we look at this map, we can see by the large and the dark colors that there's a population gap on a global and specific nationwide scale. From the East Coast to the West Coast, there are cities interspersed throughout the country, but connecting all of those cities are rural communities. I grew up in rural southeastern Nebraska, and from an early age, I imagined myself as just about anything. An entrepreneur, a musician, an FBI agent, a pilot, even President of the United States. Ask my parents, and they'll probably tell you about 400 other ideas that I considered. Some people even thought I'd go into the family business. But for some reason, the world of plumbing, heating, and air conditioning didn't quite grab me like it did my father. He's here today. One thing that did grab me, though, was solving community problems. And from an early age, I realized there was a great need for a simple go-to person for technology support. Seems like a fairly simple problem with a straightforward solution. But what started out as one of my simple problem-solving methods turned into a successful company. And over the course of 7 years, our team has expanded to include 15 different people. We serve 500 clients on a nationwide basis, and on an annual basis, we reach over 1 million people a year through our marketing and technology strategies. I started this company when I was 12, and I started in a town that has 2 stoplights. Today's conversation is all about the rural community, my success as a budding entrepreneur, and how we together can make change in rural communities and change the landscape in which people see these communities. Now, as my business continues to grow, I realize how important an expansive network of people really is. But when I started, it was just a network of family and friends. Now, at the time, it's yet to be determined whether or not I actually solved their computer problems, or they thought I was cuter and cheaper than the alternative. But fast forward to 2014. I'm amazed by the people that we get to interact with on a daily basis. But I found a problem, and a problem I want to solve. Every incubator, every co-working space, every conference I attend, from the East to the West Coast to the Silicon Prairie, is missing something: rural innovation. Where many people say, well, if I live in a small town, I'm bound to that location, I can't go anywhere else. I didn't want that to tie me down to one specific spot. And I saw a need, and I thought, everyone is telling me that bigger is better. When I pursued a variety of college options, people kept telling me, Brent, you've got to go to the East or the West Coast because bigger is better. Little did I know that these questions would fuel my passions for life. Why does bigger always have to mean better? Why can't we bring creativity and innovation and all these things that are going on in the world to a rural community, a town that has 2, 1, maybe no stoplights? A significant problem that any entrepreneur faces is this idea of not being able to succeed, or the risk of failure. And there are startup hubs around the world that are looking to solve this problem. They're creating co-working spaces or shared office spaces where people come together. They're creating incubators where people can share their ideas with one another. And if they fail quickly. They fail often, and they press stop, they reset, and they do it all over again because it was fun. These things are taking place in startup hubs around the country, including this city. Why can't these things exist in a rural community? Why can't we bring all of these opportunities to a rural community to change the landscape of not only the state of Nebraska, but also the country? Imagine a startup hub that allows people in rural communities to create things beyond their wildest dreams. The time to change and create these startup hubs in rural communities is now. So I started talking with a variety of different people, collegiate chancellors and presidents, entrepreneurs, small business owners, family and friends. And I started asking them, how do we change the landscape of a rural community? And we're acting on that now. We're taking those co-working spaces and those incubators, and we're putting a rural twist on them. We're calling it the Rural Innovation Catalyst. And what we're doing is we're challenging young people in even the smallest communities in the state to create, make a dynamic impact on, or significantly change a business, a startup venture, a nonprofit, shoot, even a community government. How does this work? Many people have difficulty believing that one person can change government, let alone a young person. Simply put, we're watering it down and we're asking questions such as, what do you not like about your job? What are things that you would change about a rural community or a community in general? If you could put your life on pause for 2 years, what would you do to make a significant impact or a significant difference? Now, how is this going to change things? And how is this going to bring about a new way of thinking about a rural community? Agriculture is and always will be the dominant economic engine of the Midwest. But farmers don't fill Main Street businesses. And while people think that if the farming operations are successful in a small town, then the town is thriving, that's an economic development way of thinking in the past. These businesses need to exist cohesively with farming operations. Rural communities are not just a place for you to fill up gas. They're a place for people to live, a place for people to start businesses and develop opportunities that are beyond their wildest dreams. And they're possible. Imagine a rural community that has a startup hub. So you drive down and you stop at the one stoplight in the entire town. And you look to your right, and right now you probably see a vacant building or a big for sale sign. The Rural Innovation Catalyst model is to push young people forward, whether they're college students, high school students, or adults. We're going to push people forward to create these businesses. They're going to fail quickly, they're going to fail often, and we're going to love it. And what's going to happen when you stop at that stoplight, instead of thinking, oh, look, it's another vacant building, I'm going to keep driving, you're going to see a space that's being used to full potential. You're going to see young people and professionals, and you're going to see people that are changing things in their community. And if we're successful, this idea, this rural innovation catalyst, will go well beyond just that one office space or that one building. We'll see a ripple effect of businesses and new startup ventures creating in small towns. They don't have to be in Lincoln or Omaha or Kansas City or in California. They can be anywhere. You can start a company anywhere, and that's what we're trying to do. You can start a venture anywhere, and that's what we're looking to do. To me, this seems like a dream. To you, it may seem like, this is interesting. I hope it works for him. But I have some excellent news for you. It's already happening. Remember that company that I started when I was 12? We now have the opportunity to have a storefront office space in Auburn, Nebraska. But instead of just using it for ourselves, we're creating this incubator space and this opportunity for people and businesses to come in and use our space to develop new creative ways of thinking in rural communities. And we're partnering with a nearby state college to create a program that would allow people to do all of these different opportunities while going to school. And even after they graduate, how are we going to keep them here? What is interesting to you, and why should you want to move from a city to a rural community? I don't know the perfect answer. And I also know that this isn't for everyone. If it were for everyone, then the rural communities would become the cities, and then I would just have to get off the stage. But what I do know is that it's time to start thinking about rural communities in a different way. It's time to push things forward, and these things are happening now. Imagine a startup community in a rural town. Right now, people are viewing rural communities as simply a pit stop along the way. Perhaps you're going on a family vacation, or you're driving to the airport. Or you let your gas get to the E-light and you think, oh shoot, thank goodness they've got at least one gas station. We've got more than one. This is not a dream, this is a reality. And it's time for people to start thinking about rural communities in different ways. There are a variety of ways this can be done. This isn't rocket science, this is bringing ideas to every area of the country, bringing these startup and incubator ideas to small communities. And I have great news, it's happening. These rural communities are in great need of a facelift. We're ready to tackle that challenge ahead, and we're excited to do it. We're looking forward to the problems, and we know that there are going to be all sorts of different things that we can't prepare for. But we're going to change rural communities, one community at a time, starting with Nebraska, with the name the Rural Innovation Catalyst. Thank you.